welcome to the program, and you've no doubt heard already about the emergency landing in Singapore today of QF-32, an A380 aircraft carrying 450 people after one of the plane's engines appeared to explode in mid-air. The plane was en route to Sydney and was able to land without incident after jettisoning fuel, but debris was scattered across Batam Island in Indonesia. Qantas has immediately grounded the rest of its A380 fleet until an investigation is completed. For the latest, I'm joined now by Qantas Chief Executive Alan Joyce. Alan Joyce, we do now know the bare basic detail, but I know that that you've been briefed from the pilot. You've heard from the pilot on QF-32. So can you take us inside the cockpit and tell us just how they responded?
Well, as you'd expect, Kerry, it was calm and collected. Our pilots are probably some of the most experienced pilots in the world. They're trained for this event. You know, our pilots go through 4 simulator trainings every year. They practice engine failures. In the cabin, what would have occurred is the pilots actually would have identified at an early stage what they suspected would have occurred. One of the pilots worked on flying the aircraft. The other pilots then worked through the error messages that were occurring. The computer tells them that there is problems. They worked through those error messages, and then the pilots would have landed the aircraft with immediate effect, which is what they did on this occasion. And the aircraft landed safely, and there was no injuries, and everybody was okay.
So as it was happening, as they're working out what it was doing, they were also negotiating with Singapore Air Traffic Control to land, and at the same time presumably calculating how much fuel they have to jettison.
They do, Kerry. What happens in this occasion is the pilots declare what we call a PAN, which is asking for a priority landing. They could have declared a Mayday, but they regarded the aircraft flight wasn't in sufficient danger for them to declare anything more than a PAN. They then went through their procedures. It's all checklists. They cover off the entire checklist that they have. And as I said, they practice this 4 times a year in the simulator. So they're very well practiced. We've probably got the best trained pilots in the world.
Nothing like the real thing to focus the mind, I would have thought. But how many engines does an A380 need to be able to stay in the air?
Well, the aircraft has 4 engines. It's capable of flying on 2 engines quite successfully. So the return to base and landing the aircraft, the pilots would have done automatically as a precaution. They want to make sure that there's no risk to the safety of flight. And we take safety as our #1 priority. So we encourage our pilots, we encourage all of our staff to do what's needed in order to make sure that the safety of our operation is maintained.
Now, when an engine malfunctions in quite this way, and it's being described as an explosion, and clearly quite a bit of debris, some of it heavy, has flown back off the plane. What is the risk of that debris doing damage to the plane, like to the wing, for instance?
Well, this was a significant engine failure. You know, we're not underestimating the significance of this issue. And, you know, grounding the A380 fleet is a significant issue for us. We've looked at the safety issues involved in this, and we believe that Qantas is absolutely making the right decision in grounding the entire fleet until we understand this fully, and making sure that we can actually fly the aircraft again and that this issue will not reoccur. It looks like it's early stages and there's a full investigation that needs to take place. The ATSB, the Australian authorities, are leading that investigation, and we have to ensure that we understand the reason for this and making sure that that's not going to occur again on the aircraft before we put the aircraft back into the air.
Now, there was at least one news report from a news agency that a Qantas aircraft had crashed. How did you react to that news?
Well, there was a lot of misreporting on this, Kerry, I have to say. You know, there was reporting that parts of wings had fallen off the aircraft, that the aircraft had crashed. What we always do is making sure that we understand the facts. We got to the market and we got out there with our communications as fast as possible. There's always a lot of fog around these issues when they do occur, but it's very important. I think this is a great example that people don't overreact, that people understand what the facts are before they report it, and I would encourage all the reporting agencies to make sure that they don't jump to the gun on issues like this.
Now, you've automatically grounded all 6 A380s for an indefinite period. How quickly will you be able to replace those planes until the A380s are back flying?
Well, our team are working on that at the moment, Kerry. We've stopped 2 flights out of LA tonight, 1 flight out of Sydney. We're working at accommodating all those passengers in hotel rooms. We're working at alternative capacity to get those passengers back home and to their destinations. We have had a lot of practice at this during the volcano, and Qantas handled itself, I think, very well during that period of time. We were able to look after our passengers. Our passengers became our top priority. And I think in this case, we're very much communicating to our passengers that safety is our #1 concern, that we'll only put the aircraft back when we're absolutely sure of it, despite the commercial implications for us, because we regard that as really important.
I know that you're reluctant to try and put a time frame on how long the A380s will be grounded,
yeah.
but can you give just a very rough rule of thumb? Are we talking weeks or...?
Well, the process we're going through is that the ATSB are investigating it. Rolls-Royce and Airbus, we're in continuous dialogue with them. This is a relatively new aircraft with new engines on it. This is an issue for Rolls-Royce and Airbus to work with us and the regulators on it to make sure that they're comfortable that there aren't other problems with this engine and that this engine is safe to fly. And they will give us information as they go through this investigation that will allow us to make the judgment call of when we should put the aircraft back in the air.
Now, this is not the first time that the union involved in maintenance for Qantas has been critical of Qantas's methods. They say that you cut corners, that you take a cheaper approach these days. Now, you say this is not a maintenance issue, but this aircraft has already had its first heavy maintenance check, has it not?
It has. It has its first maintenance check with Lufthansa in Germany, one of the best operators in the world. But this is an engine issue, and this engine has been, from manufacture, maintained by Rolls-Royce, the people that have manufactured it.
So your maintenance engineers aren't maintaining the engines? That's done by Rolls-Royce?
The engine has been maintained by Rolls-Royce. And I think I actually am very disappointed with the unions involved in this, the engineering union, for them in these circumstances to make, again, outrageous claims. They've been making a number of outrageous claims in the past that have proven not to be true. And Qantas still stands on its safety record. We've got the best safety record of any major airline in the world. And the issues when it comes to engine failures, we have less engine failures than any other airline. It's proven. The statistics are there. And yet the engineer union keeps on making false claims, and I think it's outrageous.
Alan Joyce, thanks for talking with us.
Thank you, Kerry.